Hey, Shalom family. So, the ministry that the Most High has given me, Remnant Transformation Ministries, the mission is to encourage, engage, and equip the awakening remnant in returning to the covenant, restoring kingdom culture, and cultivating community. So, when it comes to the portion of cultivating community, you know, as a people, we have to be able to return to a state of wholeness and health and to be able to function together. First we have to be able to function as individuals and regain our own personal health. And secondly, we have to be able to learn how to function in our families and family units, because that's the backbone, the foundation of community. And then we have to learn how to function together, as far as amongst our assemblies, as we assemble ourselves together and in our, communities, we have to be able to function. And that is what the kingdom is made up of. It's made up of individuals in families who function together and assemble together for the purpose of reflecting shalom, reflecting the wholeness in the light of the Most High. We're being a reflection of, we're reflecting the values of His kingdom. But to be able to do that, we have to be able to be healthy. And so a lot of times we skip the portion, we focus on the spirituality, what we think we're focusing on, the spirituality, and we get caught up in doctrinal differences. I know that a lot of times we think that we're divided because of different belief systems or different practices or different doctrinal beliefs, which they have some level of they matter, but at the end of the day, they are not the most important thing at all. The Most High is not examining us for our doctrinal understandings and beliefs. He's examining our hearts. He's examining what we do, if we're walking in justice and righteousness, if we are being an example of, if we are loving Him and loving each other, right, in practice, right? It's our practices that make the difference. It's our practices, what we are doing, that matters, and based off of it flowing from a heart that is surrendered. So the spirituality opens up the gateway for that, right? And brings us back into right standing. So we return to the covenant, we're returning to His ways, right? And in that process, we're restoring the culture of His kingdom, right? And then through doing those things, we're supposed to be able to now function as a community. But the breakdown is in the part where we get caught up and stuck in doctrine, right? We think that we're divided because some of us believe that the Most High is a Trinity, but some believe that it's a oneness. We think that we're divided because some believe just all these different doctrinal things, where the Most High is not looking down to see whether or not we believe in a Trinity or not, or if what our understanding is on these things, but He's looking to see how we are functioning and keeping His instructions that He's given us, His teachings that manifest His character within us and in the earth, right? So we divide based on all these other things, but those divisions are evidence that we have not yet come into wholeness, right? We're divided because we have emotional deficits, we have intellectual deficits, right? And we still have spiritual deficits, right? And these are things that holistically have to be dealt with, right? So the Most High wants to deal with, we have pride, right? We have pride, we have fear. These are spiritual issues that typically are flowing from emotional and mental deficits, right? What do I mean by that? So intellectually, a lot of us have reading comprehension issues where we're not able to comprehend what we are being exposed to, right? And it goes all the way back to school and schooling. We don't have critical thinking skills, right? We don't have the ability to be able to critically examine things, right? So this causes us to rely on, the teachers, the pastors, the mores, different things, and constantly be led astray or led in different areas, and to feel an insecurity because we're unsure, so we don't know what to believe. So we'll come to believe something because it sounds right, and then we'll hold on tight to it because we're fearful of being, of being wrong. So we will vehemently fight for something because this is all that we know. And so that fear, that insecurity, and that pride will which are spiritual issues that are flowing from our intellectual deficits, where we don't have the tools to be able to rightly divide things and to critically think, to comprehend, to be able to function on that level. So those are things that have to be developed, right? It's things that we should have been developing over the years, but we've been not in environments that have nurtured that capacity, right? So those deficits lead to emotional deficits, right? So we have issues with rejection. We have issues with anger. We have issues, so these things, so we're constantly triggered. Man, I mean, I have so many, the word triggered has been in my spirit because I have so many interactions, over time I've had interactions with people that I'm like, you're responding to me based off of something that I didn't even say. But sometimes we just hear words and it triggers us, and it reminds us of a past conversation or past conflict that we haven't resolved within our hearts. And now anytime we hear the word this, we just go off. Anytime we hear the word that, we go into almost a script. We just go into a script based off of that experience, so from the past, so we can't even deal in the present with what is actually being presented to us. So we have these wounds, we have unforgiveness, we have anger, we have rejection. We have all these things that are triggering us. So as we're interacting with each other, this is in the context of spirituality and issues within assemblies or whatever, but also within families, within relationships. Brothers and sisters, men and women can't get along anymore, to come together because we got so many triggers. We're constantly triggering each other and we can't function. So emotionally, we have these deficits. Intellectually, we have these deficits. Spiritually, we have these issues, and it's manifesting itself in ways that are keeping us from being able to be a community. Quick insert, also communication and conflict resolution skills. I forgot to mention those are very important things that we are in need of developing. But we're hiding behind the fact that we're divided because of doctrinal differences. We think, okay, this is an error and that's an error, and we think that we are preserving ourselves from fellowshipping with certain people because of those things. That, don't get me wrong, there are doctrinal things that are of significance that you should separate from. But if we were genuinely submitting ourselves to the Most High to heal us mentally, emotionally, spiritually, then the doctrinal issues would clear up, because we'd be in a position, in a posture to be able to hear the Most High clearly. We would have the capacity to the maturity to be able to hear. Because you can't hear when you have all these things going on emotionally and mentally and all these things happening. You can't it's like you can't hear. It's like a child throwing a temper tantrum. When you can't reason with a child a lot of times. When you tell them no, they just throw a temper tantrum. They don't have the capacity to handle it, even though it's not really a big deal. They can't see past that moment and what they want, or what you said to them, or and they throw a whole temper tantrum. They fall on the floor. They doing all these things. And we as adults, we throw temper tantrums in ways that we think look rational. We rationalize temper tantrums in dealing with each other. And we hide behind, words that sound good. We break up, we'll break off relationships to say, oh, the season is over. We'll break up things, we don't see eye to eye. We got these doctrinal reasons or whatever. But, when we were in the Christian church, most people knew that people were dealing with things behind the scenes. But everybody would come together and be like, oh, praise the Lord, hallelujah, oh, I'm blessed and highly favored, and this and that. But at home, you don't know, you got all kinds of strongholds that you can't break. You sinning, you going crazy, and you're not able to deal. You're not able to deal. You know what I'm saying? So we do the same thing in this Hebraic walk, and I think that we do it, period. Just wherever we are, we learn what to hide behind. We hide behind shalom and Shabbat shalom, and we hide behind Hebrew, and we just talk in Hebrew, and we hide behind attire, and being head wraps and stuff, and we're hiding and not growing. We're not getting beyond the immaturity that we have. And the older that you get it, the harder that it gets, because you're perceiving that I'm grown. I've been in this walk for all these years, and I know this and I know that. And when you gain knowledge, it makes you think that you've gained maturity, but knowledge, it does not equal maturity. Knowledge doesn't equal maturity at all. You can know a lot of things, but not understand, not gain the wisdom and the insight of it, and ultimately not be rooted, not have it rooted in you and flowing out of you. Most High says that he desires that we flow from his spirit, that we manifest the fruit of the spirit. The fruit of the spirit comes from being connected to the tree, being connected to the branches of the tree. You have to be able to bear fruit, so a branch has to be able to bear fruit. So there's a process of that seed going in the ground and bearing and producing roots that can sustain the growth of the vine and the of the tree, and the nutrients flow from that, and then it's able to produce branches, and the branches develop strength to be able to hold and bear the fruit. And then that fruit, when it's good fruit, it has seed in it that is able to multiply. And that's the Most High's desire for us, is to bear fruit. But to bear fruit, we have to stay connected to the vine, and be rooted. So we have to develop good roots. And a lot of us have not had good roots. We didn't grow up in households that nurtured those levels of maturity, and we didn't grow up and we didn't have schooling that developed us in maturity, emotionally and mentally. We didn't have communities that nurtured it, for the most part. Some of us did, some of us, the Most High has given through different venues. I'm thankful that in my late teens and 20s, I was a part of a ministry that put emphasis and focus on emotional healing and dealing with the traumas from our that we've gone through as a people, and that was pretty much the emphasis of the ministry. So while I came in, my focus was on spiritual doctrines and stuff. When I first came into the walk through Christianity, I was an apologist was my natural inclination, looking at all the different religions and how, the errors of them, and how, to minister to people who, do all those different things. And that was my emphasis. But the Most High sent me to a ministry that was like, so we're going to deal with your pride. We're going to deal with your anger. We're going to deal with your issues with rejection. We're going to deal with, and we literally spent months dealing with stuff, just pride. We're going to break down pride. We're going to break down anger for months. We're going to break down rejection for months. You know what I mean? And, and I'm thankful for that opportunity, to be able to have the chance to break strongholds that I had, and to be able to examine, my life and my experiences, and not just from because I was still young in that time, the stuff that I had already developed from the past, but also to gain the tools necessary to be able to carry throughout the rest of my life. Because I'm 42 years old now, and there was things that I had already been dealing with, up to that point in my 20s, that it needed healing and deliverance. But since then, we still experience life, and there's things that I've had to utilize those tools to be able to maintain, and we'll always, as long as we're living life and having experiences, you got to have the right tools to be able to maintain, so that we can live rooted. We have to develop roots, and sometimes we find out that we're rooted in the wrong things, and we have to be uprooted. And a lot of us are trying to hold on to avoid the process of being uprooted. We're trying to avoid the process of being of having to break down what we thought, whatever our foundation is, because it's flimsy, so we have to humble ourselves to say, what I learned from mama and them and grandmama and them, what I learned from, auntie and them, what I learned from my teachers and them, what I learned from my friends and them, what I experienced from my relationships, all these things taught me things and ways of coping that are not healthy, that are not functional, that do not line up with the will and the way of the Most High Yah. So I have to, even though this is the whole tree that has been holding me up all this time, I had a lot of the Most High to chop this thing down. And now I got to become rooted in something new. I have to become rooted and established and built up in something that is sustainable, something that is everlasting. You know what I'm saying? So something that the Most High is, and when we humble ourselves, the Most High can give us his grace and his power to be able to survive that process and to thrive. But when we refuse, we're operating in pride, and then the Most High has to oppose us. So we're constantly going to be banging our head up against the wall, having these situations come, and we think that we being attacked. So we listen to messages from certain messages from pastors or teachers or different people. Like, the message is always hyped up on how somebody else is doing us wrong. You ever notice that? Especially in the Christian church, it's like, these haters, and they thought you was gonna make, it's like everything to build us up against the world being all against us, when a lot of times it's our pride and our inability to be humble for the Most High to build us up that's causing all this opposition to come against us. That's the case sometimes. So when we stop looking at everything else and look at ourselves, we realize that we got issues that we need to deal with, and we have to be okay with the fact that we may be 30, we may be 40, we may be 50, we may be 60, we may be 70 years old, having never dealt with these issues. It's never too late to start. It's just it may hurt your pride, it may stir up your fears, it may be uncomfortable, but at some point we have to start, because the higher the tree is, if it's not rooted deeply, when the right wind comes, it's gonna come down, it's gonna break, it's gonna fall, So it's better to be rooted in something that's going to be sustained, because ultimately the Most High is requiring of us to grow. He's requiring fruit from us. when Mashiach looked at the fig tree, and he was like, it should have been figs on there for him. He was looking to come eat. He was like, I'm gonna give it another year, and then, this thing, I'm cursing this thing, because it's like you're supposed to be bearing fruit that is edible, that is going to feed. It's our job to be able to be a vessel for the Most High that the others can eat from. So the Most High is looking for fruit from us, for that joy, for that peace to flow through us, for that for healing, to come. We are the branches, he's the vine, so we have to be tapped into his vine and his truth. So coming into the truth, coming into knowledge, is great. It's good. Knowledge helps, if it's fed into the right vessel and the right foundation. When you gain knowledge and you have the capacity to carry that knowledge, it is beneficial to you. But when that knowledge is too heavy for the foundation that is being poured into, it will damage you more. So knowledge can hurt or help based off of your capacity to receive it. So if you're receiving knowledge that you have, but you don't have the capacity to overcome, you learn something and then it makes you angry, and you don't have the capacity to deal with the anger and bitterness, and you don't have the capacity to forgive, you don't have the capacity to put it in the right perspective, then that knowledge that you learned, the anger, is just going to destroy you, right? So Yah wants us to know, he wants us to grow, he wants us to learn and understand and have knowledge, but he needs us to be vessels that can carry it in a way that is pleasing unto him. So how do we do that? How do we start that process? Being honest with ourselves. That's where it starts at first. It's hard to be honest with other people sometimes, but we've got to a place where we can't even be honest with ourselves, to at least know within ourselves that, hey, I have some areas of brokenness, I have some areas of weakness, I have some areas where I need to be developed. We have to start identifying in a moment. The next time you have a conflict with someone or with something, or whether it's within yourself or with a person or a situation, take that opportunity to come to the Most High and ask questions. Why did that happen? What is it that I'm really feeling? What is it that what's really going on here? And then we got to take time to examine, study those things. Like when I was dealing with rejection, I had to read books. I read books on rejection. When I was dealing with anger, I read books on anger. Early in my walk, when I first came to be a believer, when I was 8. Well, I came to be a believer when I was 11, but I was spirit filled when I was 18, when I repented and, turned from a lot of ways. And I used to curse a lot. Right. And, I was like, Father, I want to stop cursing. And the question that he asked me was like, why are you so angry? And I was like, because that was the reason why, whenever, that was when it would come out, so I was like, well, I didn't think I was angry, so I had to start looking at that. Like, why am I angry? Was there anger there? So the Most High had to cause me to start examining that. And, so that's how we have to allow the Most High to question. He gives us his spirit. So if we are in him, he has given us his Ruach, his spirit. And that spirit will lead us into all truth. That spirit is our comforter. That spirit is our counselor. That spirit within us will lead us into all truth. Not just knowledge. Not just leading you into all knowledge, but lead you into all truth, coming into alignment with his truth. He says, I desire truth in the inward parts. So his truth will pour out to us in the and point out things in the inward parts. Like the Most High takes up residence within us and begins to shift things around. He's identifying things that need to be clean. He's sweeping out the corners within us, right? And he'll point out things to us, and he's gentle in doing that. He's not going to overwhelm us. So we should not overwhelm each other. He is gentle and patient in dealing with us And he doesn't, the Most High doesn't typically just expose us unless we refuse to be exposed, and then we put ourselves in a position where we may be publicly exposed or whatever the case may be. But he tries to deal with us personally. He'll deal with us in a safe place, and show us things that that we need to be able to deal with. If we ask him, he'll reveal, and through his Holy Spirit, his set apart spirit, his ruach, he will lead us and guide us, and walk us through this process. And this is a lifelong process, so be patient. It's a lifelong process that he will guide us through what to deal with first. Where do I start? So ask the Most High, where do I start today? Where do I start right now? What is it that you're talking to me about? What is it that's causing me to be unstable? And I was talking to someone recently, and I was explaining that, like, there's a valley that we have to go through. There's a letting go of something. If you imagine, there's always an image of like a person jumping. There's this image of a person leaping from one mountain, one cliff to another cliff, and as they're leaping, that period in between that leap is like you're in midair. So there's a portion where you have to let go of what you were holding on to, and you have to let go of it. But before you grasp a hold of that other side that you're trying to get to, there's a period where you feel out of control. There's a period where you feel like you're in midair, where you're not, who am I right now? Like, I'm not holding on to this stable, what I was holding on to for stability that was really not stable. It was false. It was fake stability. There's a portion where you let go of that, and now you haven't quite grasped onto this other place that is saying, this is what true peace and shalom and healing is. You haven't ascertained that and grasped that yet. There's this period in between, and we have to survive that period in between without grasping back hold of the thing that we just let go of. It's just like when they were in the wilderness, it was like that when things got uncomfortable, it was like, well, you brought us out here to die. We could go back. So there's this, whenever we're trying to transition, it's this uncomfortable period. It was like when you break up a relationship, it's like this time period that it's like it's uncomfortable, that you have to overcome and survive, without running back, but once you can overcome this discomfort in the middle, then you start to heal, you get back to healing, you get back to a more stable place, so we have to survive that thing. So whatever you've been holding on to, sometimes it's it's lies, things that we know are lies, but we fear looking into anything else because the lie has become comfortable, and it's all that we know. That's why a lot of your loved ones won't listen to truth that you're saying, for those who are presenting it correctly, because they are fearful, because you're challenging all that they know. So you have to understand that, like, you have to, if you were holding something as a crutch, you don't grab a crutch from somebody, who is using that to hold them up to walk. You have to help. They have to gain strength to be able to walk on their own, so that they can realize that they don't need that crutch anymore. So there's a transition, there's a process in the middle, and when we're dealing with other people, we have to be sensitive to that. And then when we're dealing with ourselves, we have to be aware of that, so that we can know that Yah has something more stable and better. And this uncomfortable feeling, this fearfulness, this insecurity, this place that we're in the middle is only temporary. It's only temporary. The Most High is going to transition us and get us to a place where we're he tears down and he uproots, but he also plants and builds up. So trust that if he's uprooting, he's going to reroot. Your leaves may go into shock for a while until you get back established in new roots, but it's going to be okay. To tear down looks ugly and it's a mess, but the rebuilding process, is going to occur, and it'll be beautiful again. So we have to allow the Most High to build us up on a sure foundation, emotionally, mentally, spiritually and physically, because it all holistically works together. You know, we got a lot of work to do, and we have to start on that work. And I believe that we are distracted and keeping ourselves distracted, especially collectively, by putting all our focus on doctrines and beliefs and knowledge and those things, because those are areas of comfortability, you know, because anybody can learn information. You know, those are unthreatening areas. You know, we can debate all day long, you know, so we have to not allow that to be a distraction in a comfort zone of staying and focusing on all these doctrines and different things, and get to the real work, pick up doing the real work of healing. Because I promise you that when we focus on the real work of building up the temple of Yah, then it ain't gonna be no problem of unity and oneness and understanding. Because then the Most High can shine His. Because now we are a fit vessel for the Most High to shine His light on. So any misunderstandings, anything that's not clear, will be made clear. You know, or it will be made irrelevant. A lot of things that we make relevant aren't even relevant. You know, so but as we are built up in maturity, wholeness, oneness, the things that we make so big and important, we'll find that they're not even relevant. You know, and the things that are relevant, the Most High will bring clarity to and make known to us, because we are now in a position, in a posture where, why wouldn't He? Why wouldn't He? You know, that's what He wants. It's His desire, you know, for us to be one with Him and one with each other. So, hallelujah. Let's grow. Let's grow, family. Check out the link, transformingremnant.org. Looking for people to grow with and to build with. And, you know, feel free to reach out. But I pray that the Most High heals us. He's going to heal us in this season. And He's doing it. He's going to heal us. All who are willing and yielded to Him and willing to go through the process. He's beyond ready to make us whole and to make us one. So we just got to surrender and submit to Him. So that's all, family. Shalom. Shalom.